3 of trauma bonding. Stage 3 is critical, that comes after stage 2, which stage 2 is trust and dependency. Stage 3 is criticism. Why is this stage 3? This is the plot twist, right? So up until this point, this person has literally showered you with love, showered you with affection, showered you with all of these gifts, all these things, or all this affection or emotion that doesn't really have that foundation. And then they've taught you, or they've built this trust and dependency on them, whether it's financially, emotionally, mentally, whatever that looks like. They've built this. Now their voice is the voice that you trust. What they say is what you trust. You're depending on them for your feelings, for your validation, for whatever that looks like. Then we get into criticism. The reason that this is so important, because this is where the person maintains that control or gains that control over you, because now they start to criticize the very things that in phase 1 was love bombing. They were love bombing. You couldn't do any wrong. They didn't see any wrong. Now they start to criticize you. And it doesn't happen all of a sudden. It happens infrequently, but it also happens gradually on a scale. So they start putting little doubts and damps, and we're going to talk about gaslighting tomorrow, but they put little doubts in your head, or they start criticizing, well, why don't you do this? Or, well, when did you start doing that? And it could be very well something that you've done for the entirety of the relationship or the entirety of your life, but now they're criticizing you. And because they've built this trust and dependency on their voice and on their opinion, when they start criticizing you, this is how you start to lose yourself. This is how you start to get bonded to them even more, because they are criticizing a part about your character or your behaviors or your personality. And so now you are second guessing that part about yourself. And so you are now doing anything that you can to get away from that criticism. So they do it in such a way that you've already built that trust in them. You've already put that dependency in them. So now when they start to criticize you, you begin to think that what they are saying is actually true. It has to be true because you can trust them, right? It has to be true because you depend on them for their validation. So then they start to criticize you slowly until it's like you can never do anything right, until everything that you're doing is all of a sudden wrong. And that leads into gaslighting, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But that's very important, that criticism. When you start to see a person criticizing you for things that you've always done, but now it's an issue, that is a definite sign, or that is a sign that you could be entering into a trauma bond. So be mindful of that. Be careful of that. Set boundaries, but also be very clear about who you are and whose you are. So that way, anything that they criticize you about does not affect your character.